he's considered to be in the top 50 greatest comic book villains of all time, even though he didn't even make his debut until after the Bronze Age of comic books in the late 80s. He started off as an early concept design as an alternate Spider-Man costume. Then he turned into what is now known as Venom. And he even got his own comic book series spin-off starting in 1993, which still continues to this day. So, everyone knows Spider-Man 3. Everyone's probably seen it, obviously, in 2007, ever since that was a failure. But the character is obviously still an attention drawer. It's been in development. Sony, Columbia, who owns the rights to the Spider-Man films, and a whole host of Spider-Man villains and characters. So they've been in development. A bunch of different writers and directors have been attached, including the writers from G.I. Joe 2 and Zombieland, Rhett, Reese, and Paul Wernick. They're doing press interviews because G.I. Joe 2 comes out this weekend, and they were asked about their Venom script, which they loved. They got paid for, but they're sad that it's not going to be used. They did that in 2008, 2009 era, so over 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, big name director Gary Ross, who did Seabiscuit and the Hunger Games, I'm sure he was the first director attached to it, and he turned it down. I don't know. I mean, then obviously he left. I'm sure he jumped at the opportunity to do Hunger Games. And then Chronicle director Josh Trank, the LA Times reported 1 year ago this time in March 2012 that he was in negotiations to direct a Venom film, and then they'd hire a writer to work with him after. But then after that, he officially signed on to another Fox project. See, he did Chronicle for Fox, was a huge hit. So now he went back to Fox, and he's going to do Fantastic Four reboot, which should be interesting. So, this is where we're left at. Venom, he's an anti-hero. They created a more dark and realistic world, the early scripts according to it, and it was more R-rated. So that's probably the thing that's holding back this project, is he's a villain that they try to turn into an anti-hero, and they wanted a darker film for him to work. But if they make a dark film, you know it's not going to make as money as a PG film. But whatever. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be all, even though he gets his powers, it's a gooey substance that comes from outer space. I don't want him to see, like in the comic books, they have like spin-offs. They give him a she-bitch like Venom type creature love interest. I don't want to see that. The right villain would be Carnage, and that's another love villain. They clash in the comics. They clash in the animated series in the 90s, Spider-Man. But one thing's for sure, Topher Grace isn't gonna. They started off, it might have been Topher Grace was gonna be Venom again in a solo movie. Obviously, that ain't gonna happen. So this is long away from happening. It's kind of in development hell officially until we hear further news. Next step would be to hire a writer. Even though I don't think Josh Trank is even involved, it was just rumors and he was in negotiations until he took the Fantastic Four one. So that's pretty much where this movie stands. In development hell, don't expect it anytime soon. Oh yeah, I had Carnage. That was definitely an image of Carnage that I wanted to show. The main villain that I think that they'd feature if they actually did a Venom movie. So anyway, this was JB on VillainNews. I'm out.